In the bustling city of Lagos, Ada was known to all as the perfect church girl. By day, she was the choir lead at Holy Spirit Assembly, a vibrant Pentecostal church in Surulere. Her angelic voice captivated the congregation every Sunday, and her graceful demeanor earned her the admiration of both young and old. Many people often compared her voice with that of an angel, because whenever she sang, people saw blessings rain from heaven. Ada was the daughter every mother in Holy Spirit Assembly desired to have. She served as a role model to many young girls who wanted to be like her. Pastor Joshua, the general overseer of Holy Spirit Assembly, often took her to minister in other churches whenever he was invited to minister. Ada had that gift to make you feel the presence of God when she ministered. But Ada carried a secret that no one could imagine. When the sun set, she became Sonia, a different personality entirely. An escort, a prostitute like some called it. The lifestyles were entirely different. Ada's transformation was seamless. She had perfected the art of living a double life. Her church family believed she lived a quiet, pious life. They never suspected that beneath her saintly exterior lay a woman struggling to keep her worlds from colliding. Her looks in church was a sharp contrast to what it was outside the church. In church, she wore a long gown with a derby hat or beret at times, while on the street, she wore tight and fitted attires. Ada's childhood might have played a role in her choices. She grew up in a family without love. Her father was a drunkard and her mom a petty trader. Her father would always come back drunk and her mom was always very sad about it. They were always at each other's throat, quarreling at the slightest opportunity. Growing up in Ajangbadi, a suburb in Lagos, didn't help matters. Her elder brother, Ifeanyi, was arrested at the age of 15 for armed robbery, and no one ever knew his whereabouts. His younger brother died of acute malaria because there was no money to pay his medical bills. The meager amount the mother made from selling fruits was never enough, so Ada had to make the hard decision of selling her body to sustain herself and her family. Her father was never around, and her mom tried her best. Ada sold fruits a day for her mom and moved about with randy men at night. With what she made from the men, she was able to pay the landlord when the landlord wanted to throw them out for the sake of house rent. Whenever she sold fruits for her mom, she was always singing, and that was how she discovered her passion for music. Even when she started singing in church, some part of her still longed for the life on the street. On a sunny morning, Pastor Joshua, the head pastor, summoned Ada to his office. "Ada, your dedication to the choir is inspiring," he said warmly. "I see a great calling in your life." His words cut through her like a knife. She smiled and thanked him, but the weight of her secret threatened to suffocate her. That night, dressed in a shimmering gown, Ada entered a popular nightclub in Victoria Island. The pulsating music and flashing lights were a stark contrast to the hymns and prayers of her daytime life. As Sonia, she was very confident, alluring, and unapologetic. Her clients adored her, but she despised herself more with every passing day. On one fateful evening, while entertaining a wealthy client at an exclusive lounge, Ada noticed a familiar face in the crowd. It was Dele, a young deacon from her church. Panic surged through her. Dele's eyes met hers, and she saw recognition flash across his face. Quickly, she turned away, hoping he wouldn't approach her. But Dele was persistent. He cornered her near the restroom, his voice low and firm. "Ada, what are you doing here?" he demanded. She stammered, unable to provide an explanation. Dele's disappointment was written all over his face. How did you get here? You have to stop this. This isn't who you are. This is not the same Ada we all know and love, he said before walking away, leaving her shaking. The following Sunday, Ada avoided Dele's gaze during the church service. She feared he would expose her secret, but Dele remained silent, though his eyes often lingered on her during the choir's performance. Ada's guilt became unbearable, and she started questioning her choices. Despite her inner turmoil, Ada couldn't escape her nighttime personality. Financial struggles had driven her to this life, and leaving now wasn't an option. At least not yet. One evening, she received a call from a mysterious man who introduced himself as Chief Olumide. He offered her a substantial sum for an exclusive arrangement. The amount was more than she could resist. Chief Olumide was a powerful man with connections in both the political and business world. The arrangement was discreet, but it required Ada to travel frequently. Balancing her church commitments and her secret life became increasingly challenging. One weekend, Chief invited her to a lavish party at his mansion in Ikoyi. The guests included prominent politicians, celebrities, and business magnates. Ada felt out of place, but Sonia was in her element. As she mingled with the elites, it was everything she has ever prayed for, to roll and fraternize with billionaires. After a while, she became Chief Olumide's favorite escort. One day, as they were having a boat cruise, Chief Olumide looked into her eyes and asked her, "Sonia, do you really want to make it big?" Ada was taken aback by the question. "Yes, certainly," she replied. "I just feel you deserve more than you are getting. You are smart and very intelligent, and I want to help you break free from poverty forever." She was very excited at the offer. "But it doesn't come for free," he said. "You will have to work for it." "What kind of work?" she asked. "You will have to deliver very simple messages to my friends." Ada was excited that the job was a mere delivery job. Little did she know that there was more to it. Ada's first assignment took her to Dubai. When the church heard she had traveled abroad, they erupted in excitement. "Ada is doing so well," they exclaimed. Pastor Joshua even mentioned her name during sermon, using her as an example of God's blessings. The church was so happy for her progress, and people tapped into her supposed grace. Ada became a frequent traveler to Europe and other Asian countries. It took 5 months before she realized she was helping Chief Olumide to peddle hard drugs. She started living flamboyantly and even bought a car. But behind the glamorous facade was a life filled with fear and danger. She no longer stood on the streets because she became a drug peddler and a high-profile escort for only rich men. As Sonia, Ada became a trusted courier for Chief Olumide's operations. She carried packages whose contents you choose not to question. Her international trips became frequent, and the money was more than she had ever dreamt of. But the guilt weighed heavily on her. Each Sunday, standing before the congregation, she felt like a fraud. One evening, during a church video, Dele noticed her distress. "Ada, is everything all right?" he asked after the service. She forced a smile and assured him she was fine, but his concern lingered. Back at church, Pastor Joshua announced a 3-day fasting and prayer session for all choir members. "We need to seek God's face for the challenges ahead," he declared. Ada felt concerned. How could she participate in the fasting while living such a deceitful life? During the first day of the fast, Ada was filled with emotions. She knelt at the altar, tears streaming down her face. Dele noticed her distress and approached her after the service. "You can still turn your life around, Ada," he said gently. His words gave her a glimmer of hope. That night, Ada was summoned to Chief Olumide's mansion. He was furious. Someone had leaked sensitive information about his illegal dealings, and he suspected Ada. "If I find out you betrayed me, you will regret it," he threatened. Fear gripped her, but she maintained her composure. Ada decided it was time to break free from Chief Olumide and her double life. She confided in Dikindele, who agreed to help her. Chief Olumide was having issues with his partners in their illicit business, and he felt Ada was the one exposing him. One night, they had a serious quarrel, and both parties threatened to deal with each other. His partners were more powerful and connected, so they set him up immediately. Chief Olumide was arrested while trying to escape to Europe a week later. His arrest made news, and the Agency for Drugs made it clear that they were still investigating his business. Ada knew it was a matter of time before they would come for her. Several times she had nightmares, and she knew in her spirit that her time was almost up. She was confused. She didn't know what to do, if to confess openly or wait till she is arrested. Ada decided enough was enough. She decided to confess her sins to Pastor Joshua. She expected judgment, but was met with compassion. God's grace is sufficient for all of us, Pastor Joshua has said. With the pastor's support, Ada began her journey of healing and redemption. She also joined a support group for women trying to leave the sex industry. Through their shared experience, she found strength and purpose. Ada started a non-profit organization to help young girls in Lagos avoid the traps she has fallen into. Though her past haunted her, Ada found solace in her faith and the impact she was making in her community. She realized that redemption was not about erasing the past, but using it to inspire others. The dual life of Ada has ended, and in its place was a woman determined to live authentically. She mustered courage to share her story in the church in form of a testimony, depicting her past life, transformation, and the healing process. That day, she woke up with a strange feeling, but despite all odds, she decided to still continue with the plan. The church needs to know she owes them that much. As she got to the church that day, she was invited to come share her testimony. As Ada moved to the altar, there were lots of applause. Immediately, she collected the microphone to begin her story. Some men wearing red vests with NDAA written on it walked in to the church fully armed. One look, Ada knew she was the target of the men from the Nigeria Drug Abuse Agency. She was arrested and taken into their custody. The church was thrown into confusion. Pastor Joshua didn't try to stop them because he knew the story. In the NDAA custody, she was interrogated. After a few days, she was charged to court. Members of the Holy Spirit Assembly came out in their numbers to support one of their own. Despite the fact that they got her a good lawyer who tried her best, Ada was still sentenced to 5 years imprisonment. People cried watching their icon being whisked away in a Black Maria to start her jail term. Ada was strong-willed. She knew she was reaping the fruit of her actions and decisions. She quickly adjusted to life in prison. It was not long before she was noticed in the prison chapel. Her voice made her stand out. She was liked by everyone, even the prison warders. In less than 3 months, she became the choir mistress of the prison chapel. One day, after service, a young man walked up to her. She felt he was coming to compliment her voice like most people did after every Sunday service. But this one was different. "Good day," the young man said. "I was touched by your praise and worship today in church," he said. "Thank you," Ada replied. She felt a strange aura, and she knew there was more to this man. "You remind me of my younger sister. She sings exactly like you. We really want to know you better. Anyways, my name is Ifeanyi," the man said. Ada was not paying attention to what he was saying until he mentioned his name. Ada became interested. She asked him of his surname and other personal questions. That was when she realized that it was Ifeanyi, his lost elder brother, who was arrested for armed robbery. It was an emotional reunion as they both cried. They both shared their story. Her brother narrated what happened that night and how he was framed for something he knew nothing about, and that he did not steal, he was only at the wrong place at the wrong time. And for 12 years, he had been helpless. Immediately, Ada knew her mission in the prison was to vindicate and rescue her elder brother, who was innocent of the crimes leveled against him. Through the effort of Ada's lawyer and other NGOs, Ifeanyi was released. Ada felt so fulfilled and accomplished that day. 2 years into her own term in prison, Ada was released on presidential pardon as she had led her prison chapel choir to win a competition. As Ada walked through the tall gates of the prison, she knew life had given her a second chance. Pastor Joshua had gone to welcome her. "Welcome back, daughter," he said. "I am sure there is joy in heaven at the moment. You sure have learnt your lessons. We are happy you are back. You still remain our darling sister, as all things have passed away."